Hi everyone. In our last session, we began looking at factors within the school environment that affect literacy learning. We began looking mainly at the learning environment, and we will be exploring today how all of that is affected by the beliefs of the teachers and the teacher's learning style. We looked at a few things in the learning environment that can be used to enrich the entire literacy experience. We highlighted the fact that the following should be placed within the reach of the child. These should all be things that should be easily accessible to the child to promote independent learning, discovery learning, and to cater to the overall aesthetic appeal of the school environment. If the students see these things, they will feel more welcome in the school environment or the classroom setting, and it will actually pique their interest in learning. We also highlighted that the following should be visible to the child even if they are not accessible. These are teaching aids that facilitate a multisensory approach to learning and the students' work. Students love to see their work displayed. The more they see their work displayed, is the more they will be encouraged to continually produce that literacy behavior. The teaching aids that are in the classroom should not be easily accessible to the children. If you allow these materials to become as toys, just mere toys, then you will find that when the teacher is ready to teach, he or she might not have these materials to assist them in the learning process, the actual teaching learning process. So it's good to have things that cater to a multi-sensory approach to learning, but the teacher should know which ones they want the child to readily have access to and which ones should be reserved for later during the classroom sessions. When the child realizes that some of these things are visible but not easily accessible, they may come to the teacher asking, when will we use this? When will we get a chance to do this? And it will pique their interest and it will have them looking forward to some other lesson in that the teacher might have to use such materials in. So it's just a way of stimulating their thoughts, having them have questions even before the lessons have begun, but it's a way for the teacher to preserve some of the materials that she needs or that he needs, so that whenever it's time for the lessons, these things are also available. You don't want to give away everything to the child before the lessons begin. So it's good to have things, as I said, that cater to a multi-sensory approach to learning, where they are able to touch things, view things, smell things, even taste things at times, but we know the danger of having them smell and taste things on their own. So you reserve those things until during the classroom learning experience. However, they should be visible so that the child can look forward to these things being used in the lessons. And it's not about a decoration, as I said last week. You will have these things and you must use these things in the learning experience. If your child is at school and you realize that every time you see this poster, it's just stashed away in a corner and the teacher refuses to use it, it's highly likely that the teacher is not promoting literacy learning. And this now is a part of how the teacher's belief will affect what they actually do. We also looked a bit at the print-rich classroom. Now let's zoom in on what this print-rich classroom really entails. As I said, if you Google it, it will look like the typical early childhood classroom, but there are some key things that you should look for. However, there are some key things that you should look for to test if the teacher is actually promoting literacy learning or if the teacher is just merely decorating the class to make it seem fun. Let's look at what this print-rich classroom might look like. If you observe this picture carefully, you will realize that there are a lot of words. So let's zoom in on a few areas. If you look in the top right hand corner, right there, yes, you will see questions: who, what, where, why, when, how, do. So this suggests that the teacher might periodically look at things that allow the students to think critically, allow them to get into their minds and come up with ideas and to connect even with stories. You will see that there is a chart with the month of the year. And well, you see the months of the year, but notice the teacher removed January and place it in the calendar section. So that shows that this teacher is not just displaying the months of the year. The teacher is actually using up the content so the students can know which month they're in. And that suggests that, listen, some real literacy learning might just be taking place. If you look in the bottom corner, you will see some stuffed animals and some toys. Yes, there are teachers who believe that, listen, we don't need all of this, but trust me, we need it. We'll need to see things that attract them to those reading areas. And if you notice, just above where the toys are, there are words, and just behind you will also see the numbers. So there's a numeracy chart. I just wish the teacher would have had maybe a label that's clearer in this classroom right here where the numbers are. Probably to put the numbers or the word numbers above. You will also see that there are that crayon examples. I believe those would have been labels for the different colors, so the child can look at the word black, different from the word green, different from the word yellow, different from the word red, and associate it with the color. Next, when we look at this classroom environment, we see labels. And if you look in the immediate corner to the right, you will see a Scrabble game. These things assist in learning. So this is meaningful fun, trying to create words, and the child will realize that, oh, each letter is valued at a particular point. Let me try and get a word that scores more than what my classmate is scoring. You will also realize that in the left hand corner there is a little chart where the teacher is actually encouraging the students to write. So she gives them the digraph E with the two E's, and they're supposed to try and create words from it. Notice she's not beating up the child as to how the letters are formed so much and whether or not the words make sense. Eventually they'll get it. It's just the area, as we say, to facilitate writing and reading. And notice just above, the student has examples as well. Next slide. If you look closely in this picture, you'll realize that the general classroom section is separate from where the reading writing area is. So the students are able to move from their regular desk and move to another area which seems a little bit more conducive to collaborative learning, to pair some words together, to reinforce the concept that the teacher is looking at. Teachers' beliefs and teaching style. Yes, two other integral aspects of the school environment which will affect literacy learning. Now, all that we discussed last week and this week about the school physical environment is all important. However, there are some teachers and some school administrators who believe that all that is not necessary. They're of the view that labeling items like the trees and the walls and the desk and the chairs, that's just pointless. And eventually the children will learn the words. Some believe it's a waste of resources like paint and ink and paper and even strong material like wood and metal to be using all this to be labeling things around the school compound. They will say, what's the point of painting messages on walls? What's the point of putting up posters? Can't we just tell them what we want? Yes, there are some persons who are like that in the school environment, who believe that the children are coming as empty slates and the teachers are just supposed to pour in information. There are also some parents who believe that as well. And they believe that all learning must take place in the classroom. It's not necessary for anything outside of the classroom space at the school to have all of these things that promote literacy learning. However, that's just because of their mindset. Our actions indicate what we believe. Let me repeat. Our actions indicate what we believe. Now, if the teacher believes that the students cannot learn, then the teacher will just not put in the effort to even facilitate discovery learning. The teacher will just believe that, listen, whatever I'm teaching is just enough, and whatever the child came with is just what they have. So some teachers will not facilitate literacy learning in this way to allow the students to think even by looking at something, or to even stimulate even that those what, who, why, how questions that we discussed earlier. Some teachers will never use up those things because in their mind the child cannot really go deeper. And if they believe this, they will actually set up their classroom space in such way. So there are some persons who are of this growth mindset and some who are of the fixed mindset. Those of the fixed mindset, teachers who are of the fixed mindset tend to use more of the traditional way. And when I say traditional, I don't want it to sound in a negative sense. So let me say the teacher-centered approach to teaching and learning. There are some teachers who are of a fixed mindset who believe that the teacher has all the information, all the knowledge that there is, and the children just don't know much or don't know anything at all. So they will come with this fixed mindset, believing that, listen, I don't need to do anything extra. I just need to tell the child, and once the child is able to learn, then the child will learn what I'm giving him or her. These added things in the classroom or in the school environment is not necessary. That's what they believe. But that's someone who is of a fixed mindset. A teacher who is of a growth mindset will say, listen, this literacy learning is all facilitated through communication. So let me pull on what is in the mind of my student and let me hear what my student has to say. Let me hear what my student thinks. Let me see how my student writes and express him or herself. Let me provide opportunities even outside of the classroom sessions for my child to develop his or her literacy skills. Now, if you don't believe all that, then you won't put it into practice. So there are teachers who will even study the different approaches that are more student-centered, but simply because they don't buy into it, they really don't believe it, they don't practice it. And this will affect how they actually teach in the classroom. So rather than having this multi-sensory approach to learning and facilitating it, rather than even catering to the different styles of learners, they will just come there and just talk, and probably write on the board and expect that the children will learn. So it's all about understanding what the teacher believes and how that will affect the teacher's teaching style, and how that will affect how the teacher actually sets up the physical environment. So you can look at how the teacher arranges the physical environment for the class to know if the teacher believes in a more student-centered approach to learning, and if the teacher is of a fixed mindset or of a growth mindset. And we're all aiming for growth mindset because we have to think that those around us, even children, can grow and they have much to offer even to the learning experience, and that we can grow even as we communicate with children.